Hello there, welcome to a very rare episode of Chap in the workshop. Now, this is my first one, so be gentle. Now, the purpose of this video is to talk about this powder dispenser. I used it in the last short video on the flintlock musket, and since then it's been made known to me that, amongst others, the Muzzleloaders Association of Great Britain has issued a warning about using these. And the reason for this is that the valve uses a steel spring. Now, we could argue until the cows come home as to whether this steel spring causes an ignition hazard or not. By the way, the cows come home in September in this part of the world. But the fact remains that it could be a hazard if things get worn and old. Powder grain could maybe infiltrate into the spring chamber, etc., etc. So, while I was trimming my topiary, I thought, why couldn't I just replace the steel spring with a brass spring? Now, brass springs are used quite successfully in Japanese matchlocks, so why not? I'll give it a go. So, rummaging in my drawers, I found these tiny 25 ACP brass cases, which are exactly the correct diameter to fit inside the spout. Now, as you all know, I do not possess a lathe, so it was simply hacksaws and files. I set to work and produced this little coil spring. You can see that. Let's see. Just doing it by eye. And now, if I unscrew the valve, get rid of the nasty offending spring, and just slip this in its place. Now obviously the brass spring per cross section is not as elastic as the steel spring, so the travel of the spout inside the reservoir is not as great. So, for example, that's the travel of the brass spring. It's about 5 mil, and it's the travel of the steel spring, so a good 2 or 3 millimeters more. And that means you have to open up the cross channel that leads into the central spout a bit more, so that the powder can flow more readily inside. Now, one handy thing about using a brass case is that the thicker wall thickness at the bottom of the case you can use as a stopper against the flange here on the spout, so that it stays in position and it can be pushed against it. So, putting this all back together, it goes in just enough. It has enough elasticity to close, very important. And as we'll see in a second, it'll pour out a lovely measure of powder, just as if the original steel spring was in place. There we go. You can see here. I push down, and there we are. Lovely little charges for your priming pan. So, a possible solution to a possibly non-existent problem. In any case, the option's open to replace it. So, I hope this has been informative, and thanks for watching, and stay safe. I'd like to thank Treacle for his assistance in the making of this video. As you can see, he is a true shooting feline, since he's currently asleep in a tray of freshly cast 44 Russian bullets. Thanks, buddy.